more serious, but you could definitely see from G2's point of view, there is a sense of calm about them, a sense of cheekiness about them. And as an Australian, I love that. But it is time for us to get underway with this one. It's an upper bracket best of one. The stakes aren't incredibly high, but for both of these teams, they need to make a statement here and now. We head to the wonderful map of Clubhouse or Lair?
Lair.
Oh, it's definitely Lair. We'll come back to that, but we head to Lair with G2 and Shopify Rebellion.
Thank you so much, Rob. And Rob was just saying how it was all smiles, G2 are cheery. Look at them. As soon as they sat down and put their headsets on, stone frickin' cold. And I mean, and that's what you expect from consummate professionals like that. Like Rob said, loading into Lair, the newest addition to the pool, and strangely enough, because we don't see this a whole lot, a map where both teams dominate in their respective region. G2 and Shopify, both undefeated since CJX came out, both 4-0, and their round differentials are only 1 apart. For Shopify, you get that structure from Canadian, surrounded by the 4 fraggers. From G2, you get all this lurk presence that they love on a massive map.
I love this idea, this map being so effective for both these teams in their lineups. But the big thing I'm going to initially draw my attention to is going to be the prevalence of that defense bias. This map has swayed so aggressively. Defense favored, especially inside of Europe. And I feel like G2 here on this map will play in the full avail of it. This actually, I mean, was the map that Stomper, of course, debuted on this time.
True. Didn't he get his first ace was on Lair, I think?
I think so, yes.
I think, yeah. So, good memories, most likely, for Stompin' as we load into round number 1. It's, of course, the top floor site. This is, for almost every team in the world, this is the primary bomb site. But one of the issues people have with Lair is, and it's kind of weird as defender-sided, because there's so many spots on Lair where you just open a wall or walk into one room and bang, site. But it's the fact that there's so many of those default plants are so closed off. There's so much vert that you can't just open the wall and walk in. There's so much other clearing you have to do. It looks like Shopify Rebellion are also going to be going for bottom up. They've got Ambi working in already, and I'm very excited to see how they play with Aurora.
Same. The big thing about this is when we mentioned, yes, you can get close proximity to sites very directly, but that surrounding area is full of the dreaded 90-degree position. How many times have you seen a smoke with a shotgun? Just deny that. And if you could just limit mobility, which is very prevalent for the defense with Aurora, that could be a huge impact for the side of Shopify. Drone economy is looking a little bit weak at this stage. 4 lost, and G2 will take full advantage of it. But tempted a few moments for Shopify, not committing too early on. And I think they're just waiting for the opportune moment to get themselves poised up. And this is going to be the first Aurora panel deployed.
Interesting, too, that they're coming from this side. Normally, when you see the Aurora and the Sens and stuff, they're coming from, like, bathroom or display side to cut off that doorway and make their way in through security, I think it is. But they're trying to close off the door into sight, so that way Rexon can apply pressure and work his way up 90 while Surf holds the cutoff bathroom. Ambi continuously trying to apply pressure here, but it's Alamau with the opening pick onto Surf. That's your cut player gone, and now you can apply all the pressure you want here with the smokes, but the defense have a lane to back up.
Alamau, though, reduced to a single point of HP at this stage. The information is good, and Rexon with the Glass DMR does shut him down. So we go to a level playing field, 4 players each way. 60 seconds remain. And just playing on that rappel, trying to act as that cutoff spot, just denying any movement and waiting for someone to lure into his trap, but no one has done it yet from G2. And this is where the defense bias is going to be very important. Patience is going to be so vital for this G2 roster. Wait, play in your deep angles, and force Shopify Rebellion to push into you. Great smoke grenade goes out to try and mark this off and give a little bit of exposure. But they're going to run straight into the waiting arms of Doki. He's going to have a keeper body to give himself some extra concealment. Binding two of the Rexon. He can't make it through. Ambi shuts him down. Advantage G2, and just under 30 seconds left to go.
And does this Kiba give Ambi enough cover to safely go for the plant? It's all up to Spoit to cover. He's on the doorway. In comes the ROU. Ambi gets off the plant, but he's down. Despoit gets one in the hallway. Now it's a 1v1. Both low HP, and Loira through the chair gives G2 the first round.
A very narrow margin indeed, but this is what we talked about inside of G2. The roster stacked from top to bottom with players who are very mechanically gifted. And well, Alamau, I'm sure you might even be able to hear it from our microphones, very animated as always towards North American opposition in this regard. And again, I mean, it's been very loud out here, actually. I've actually loved hearing the players go. Of course, we have 3 stages also close to each other. Actually, as we went into this game, I looked over to my left shoulder, and I saw DZ claim victory in their matchup, and a very animated Kangaroo Kenny for that.
Oh, yeah. Saw that earlier. One of the big problems for Shopify, and I love this, the idea of taking that Aurora, blocking off the main site panel in order to take the hallway, then shift your attention through. You know what would have really helped? A can opener. Just one. You open that default wall, you deny Doki's position, and even then, Ambi had a great spot after Doki tried to lock it down with the Kiba. It was just way too low HP. 1 bullet was enough to bring him down, but still, an incredibly hotly contested round. And like you said, with how defense-heavy this map is, being able to bring the primary site down to an incredibly close 1v1 could be a really good sign for Shopify.
I couldn't agree more, and the real goal is that they can continue this trend going on and on. They need to not let G2 get themselves a significant buffer. They need to keep this game as close as possible, not only for the fact that it makes it easier when we go into that side swap when you're on the favorable side, but just puts that little bit of pressure on the EU leaders for it. Diving on board with Spoit, Dokubi, the operator of choice from this one. Logic bombs to work with in the later stages, just trying to opt to try and find some early control.
Ying also coming out the first, or sorry, well, I guess the third of probably many cheese ops that we can expect from Shopify Rebellion. There's no Warden being played yet. The wall has been opened by Canadian, now bringing those can openers, and he is also on Ying's shotgun, becoming more and more popular as time lets on, especially, and you highlighted Lair, so many 90-degree angles. The shotguns are so good. I mean, how many times have we seen, speaking of DZ, Spirits walk up the main stairs with the Ying shotgun and obliterate the smoke who's trying to play there? Obviously, a top-down take is in the cards for Shopify Rebellion. Dokubi is going to help expedite this roam clear. Surf is already getting that main wall open, and G2 looks like they're beginning to fall back a little bit.
Starting the early stages of this multi-layered defense, both can openers have been burnt at this stage. 4 drones lost from the side of Shopify. It's just slowly bleeding away utility. 1 impact burn from G2, but that was likely in the early stage of this prep. The call-up is perfect. Ambi finds 1. Wave goodbye to Doki. After 2 Barao gone. Rexon's going to compound the issue. Blaz going to be next to fall from this side of Shopify Rebellion. And or from the side of G2, I should say. And this is going to put a lot of pressure now on the remaining survivors of G2. Rotations will be limited, and they're running out of space to work with.
Slowly getting boxed in. Stomping a duo here in storage with Alamau. Smoke able to get away, it seems. Actually still upstairs in the hallway, looking to contest up here. Take something back. G2 know that if they all fall back downstairs and just sit in their anchor positions, I mean, Shopify showed against Weibo what happens when you let this team set up. So I think it's a wise move from G2 to keep contesting here, but with the lack of info, Ambi is sitting on yet another cutoff. Good for 2. Now it's Alamau and Loira stuck on 2 different floors. There's no way for Alamau to rotate back. Loira almost dies to Vert. They've got active info on him. Here comes one coming in from the horizontal. Rexon takes him out. Sure, Ambi dies, but it matters not as Shopify tie the score.
Massive round for Shopify to get themselves back to level playing field, and this is going to stop the daylight growing between these teams. And I think a perfect example of the stylistic differences that we see. G2 in that mid-round, a little bit impatient, stomping, caught out by the angle held by, I believe, Ambi, or was it Surf? Was holding this. It was Ambi, yeah. Just denied it, and that's the kill right there on your screen. That second pick on Ravels from G2, removing that flexibility to work with, and well, a little bit of pressure applied as G2 do lose one of their defense rounds. Still lots to go in early days in this best of 1, but Shopify showing they can hang.
A good sign, too, though, for G2 is that it's the middle floor site. Not the biggest deal in the world. They still have labs, and you've still got the top floor, again, to potentially lock out the 4-2, which we typically want to see. But Shopify Rebellion, cold and calculated on that upstairs, forcing those players into the sight lines. I'm surprised Ambi was able to sneak in as far as he could on Sledge. Not an operator you typically know for sneaking into a forward flank position. But as I said, Basement is now in the cards for G2, and they have the Valkyrie first time being played. They've got a lot of stall with the Castle, the Mute Lucy, and Tachanka also showing his face. I don't think we've seen him today so far. I think this is our first one, at least on C stream.
Certainly on this stream. I haven't seen him pop up on our A and B feeds just yet. Now, it is a massive amount of potential denial that Shamika brings out. And I'm going to put a very keyword, potential.
Yeah.
The small inconsistencies of the bounce trajectory and the radius of that fire means sometimes it can be very difficult to get max value out of this operator. Alamau and Ambi very close to each other. The drone of Ambi goes out, doesn't detect the Valkyrie just yet. Alamau will have the audio and just trying to keep himself concealed for a little bit longer. Opens up that main barricade, and this is going to be a problem now. Alamau uncertain of what he can do. A little bit of phantom pressure, so he decides to not commit to this and have Blaz watching that to help cover that retreat.
And we know how much G2 like their lurks. If Shopify Rebellion, if their information is not on point, then we're going to see a lot of rat kills from G2. Shopify looking like they're going to go for another full map clear, with people setting up upstairs. They're going to walk right into G2's roam. Early phantom pressure being established on the site too, just from some early util clear. Maybe try and feign a push. You see a lot of attacking teams, if they want to do a full map clear on a really big map, they'll feign a site hit and it'll force some of the roamers back. Sometimes it doesn't cost you anything. Might as well be a gamble. I guess it's not really even gamble. Might as well be a chance you take. Shopify Rebellion are actually getting some really early site info too. I'm wondering if they're looking to just hit.
I feel like the way they're posturing in this position, that is the intention.
Yeah, here we go.
That's going to be the first Candela, and that's going to be Canadian with that Ying shotgun in hand. He's going to deploy a second to buy him a little bit more space. He tries to charge in towards B. Rexen finds the opening on the Blaz. The Super Story in the hands of Stompen needs to win his one, and he does with the UMP. And this is going to be Stompen finding two now, and G2 swing back into control. The control, though, from Canadian with that pistol in hand, finding one with Doki. Sploit find Lair in the distance, an advantage with Shopify with 60 seconds and a logic bomb raining off. Stompen wounded down below in sight, and Alamau somewhat disconnected from the rest of his team.
What can Alamau do here? Because I think the hatch is also closed, and they know exactly where Stompen is, but he still picks off Canadian like a trapped animal. He becomes incredibly fierce, and Alamau rotates outside to duel with him, taking the fight and winning it against Sploit. Both players in a corner, and Shopify Rebellion still unable to win the fights, and there's another for Stompen. 4 kills for the kid, and the lead back in G2's corner.
That is a level of composure you do not see often from rookies. As you mentioned, pinned in a corner like a trapped animal, but finding a way to have a huge impact from start to finish of that round. Stompen take a bow. Alamau with a brave rotation outside as well, with a huge assist.
Crazy rotate.
But either that's a massive call of information, someone deciding, realizing that everyone's committed towards site at that stage, realize, go for it, and the bravery to do that. Well done, G2. They find themselves one more round here in the defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think they also had case control, I want to say, which is why they doubled up there. But still, 2 players trapped in a corner. You know exactly where Stompen is. He's 1 HP. And he's just holding these pixels. And I mean, that's what he did in T3. That's what he did in T2. And that's what he continues to do in EML. He is such an incredible player on not a great gun either. And Alamau, too. Not only is he rotated to help his team, but then taking the opportunity to swing out aggressively, because he's not 1 HP, he can take that aggressive angle. Really well done from G2. That's the 2 primary sites now over and done with as we rotate back to Master. G2 with a very similar operator lineup. The key difference being Lair no longer on Ela. Little bit of a gun op, like you just want the Scorpion or the Shotgun in that case, and they're doubling up, or rather tripling up Tachanka Goyo Smoke, because they saw Shopify Rebellion, again, 2 players trapped in a corner, they still took so long.
I believe actually we had our ban phase there as we had a very intent look at our players.
Oh yeah,
and
they did ban Ela.
Yeah, Ela, now that is a very unorthodox one. I have a feeling this, again, it's all going to play in just a map direction of this. With the amount of 90-degree angles and the amount of deep positions, those Grismot mines can make a very favorable gunfight for the Ela, especially in that defensive deep corner positions. And the Ying makes perfect sense. G2 have realized that this is probably going to be a very important part of the strategy from Shopify Rebellion, so taking away that Ying early is going to be a big benefit for them. So hopefully they can continue this, what has been a very strong performance here in the defense.
Yeah, the fans sometimes, like, I didn't realize that's why we were on the player cams. Like, it's out of sight, out of mind. I was like, we're looking at these guys for a while. I completely forgot the bans or anything. But I think in losing the Ying, now Shopify Rebellion are like, all right, it's Blackbeard time. Canadian, on him. Spoit still rocking the sense, so you can't blind the defense, but you still have that kind of wedge to cut through the site and create space for you. But again, the problem is, doesn't matter how good your wedge is if there's fire and toxic gas right in front of you. They're once again trying to force out Alamau from this main stairs position. They don't have the glass this time. Shopify Rebellion are going to have to figure out some other way to get rid of both Alamau and now Stomp and duoing with him. They're very aware of the windows.
This is where having an IGL of the veterancy of Canadians can be very important. This is where your problem solving needs to be absolutely spot on. I believe the first Sens wall deployed out by Spoitna has been giving a little bit of that visual cover, meaning it's not going to be as easy as GT to spot the rotations and movements, and maybe getting a little bit of eyes on exactly position Shopify want them to be looking, so they can try and find pressure elsewhere.
Tachanka fire also you can hear coming out from Doki. Kiva barriers getting set up by Lair too, so you can play a little bit more forward on these breaches as Rexen now on the ace, something that Shopify Rebellion had lacked on their initial play of this site. They didn't have anyone to open up those bunker walls, and I'm sure they're very thankful for that. It makes your avenue into the bomb site a lot easier, and one of the things you can do is once you burn away all that utility, as long as there's no C4, and you have op control, you can just sneak your way in, and Rexen tries to do that from the outside, but G2 knows what's up, and they destroy Shopify Rebellion as they try to execute onto the bomb site. 3 unanswered kills. Finally, Surf is there to get 1, and he's chasing down this player on main stairs. Stompin goes down 2 as Canadian. Perfect trades. There's a 1v2. Surf pulled so much magic out of his hat in the earlier game. Can he do it again against G2 with Loira behind Akiba? Utility still in pocket, going for the fake Flores to try and bait the Zazami out. Here's the swing, but Loira wins it.
I like the bravery, I like the decision making, the fake out that Rotero drone, but unfortunately against the Kiba barricade, you have to play that 50-50 chance. It shows right, but Loira quicker on the draw this time around, and it will be a third defensive round now for G2 here on Lair. Now, obviously this map is going to be defense favored, but is this a stage where we're starting to have the alarm bells raised for Shopify Rebellion? They would like to get themselves 2 rounds, they'd like to get themselves a little bit more, so I've got a feeling that this might be soon time, that tactical timeout.
I don't think they go for it unless they lose bunks here. Because they did win bunks pretty dominantly.
They are.
Oh, they are taking it. Interesting. Actually, do we know who called it?
I would imagine Super would have called. I think it was Shopify Rebellion would have called it at this stage. Okay. Super looks a lot more animated and problem solving at this stage, and this is one of the things I love about being up here. We got a complete peripheral of every single team and player at this point, and G2 look calm and composed as we always imagine. A little bit of concern slipping onto the faces of the side of Shopify, but nothing this team hasn't faced before, nothing that man hasn't faced before as well.
Oh yeah.
So let's hope this team can lock back in and get some rounds here in the offense.
Yeah, again though, they won bunks so dominantly. I don't know if you want to give G2 the time to talk out their own bunks and figure out how to change it to perfectly stop your upstairs clear that was so good with Ambi sneaking in. I mean, I imagine G2 are about to see more trap operators, because last round we just had the Legion and the Ella. Now we have the Malusi in play, so rather than the Ella, you get 4 Banshees rather than the 3. It's going to be, if they place them right, it's going to be harder for Ambi to sneak into those positions. Shopify Rebellion right now, they're showing Lion Blitz Capitao. That makes me think either they're going fast sight, or they're running in upstairs somewhere, all like maybe 4 of them with 1 cut and just trying to clear the roam in 30 seconds.
I think your latter option there might be more to the style of this. I have a feeling that Ambi's job's going to playing on that cut with that gridlock, able to limit mobility with those track stingers, and with the aggression of the blitz on the hands of Canadian, you can get that top control and begin forcing G2 out of these upstairs positions, out of these power positions. So I think you're spot on with that call, and they'll get themselves a little bit of progress checking for the mute jammer. Nothing on it, so I think they're going to get that one for free.
Surf right now, still on the roof droning. I think he's along with Rexen right now. Canadian on the blitz, the man with the case, so once push comes to shove, he's not going to be taking aggressive space in sight. He's going to try and get somewhere safe with the coverage of that shield. Right now, droning out the same floor. The way they're setting up, I think it maybe a cut upstairs to stop the usefulness of the vert. but otherwise, just going straight into sight. Lair opening up this barricade, trying to apply pressure to Spoit, who's just on the other side of it. Shopify continue to sit on there's 3 people on drones right now, just waiting for some kind of call.
This is where G2 need to show a little bit of risk aversion and not extend. Shopify are wanting G2 to walk into these cutoffs, wanting them to make a mistake. This is where you need to have a little bit of composure and just wait. Every second that drains away is going to make things so much harder for Shopify to try and solve this. So I think the wise choice being made by G2 to not take full aggression on this. Exothermic charge opened up nicely and beginning to make some good progress. But G2 just showing the patience game with vertical control still being held. It's going to be very difficult to try and get a plant down.
Problem is, if someone tries to flank up through that hallway, Surf might be a dead man as Canadian. Now getting frozen out by those Zotos, but it's not going to stop him from planting. Now halfway through, is anything going to stop him? Surf takes out the player that was attempting to flank through, and the plant goes down. Now it's a post. Surf ends up sacrificing his life for that plant, but still, 4 on 4. Shopify Rebellion, all they need to do is hold these outside positions, hold these cuts, and once G2 are forced to rotate down, Shopify Rebellion can take upstairs and use the vert to their own advantage. Ambient that cutoff earlier gets a big kill on Stomp and Doki trying to open up the site, but there's still players on the cut outside the breach. Alamau fishing for picks through the vert, but there's nothing to find. But this could be a safe defuse spot. Blaz tucked in the corner. Now Shopify Rebellion have to get aggressive, but Rexen finds the hole, slips in through the vert. Alamau pads his stats, but Shopify Rebellion find the hole.
That was a perfectly planned out execution from hard breach to a deeper plant position, avoiding the Soto canister was thrown down in the midst of that smoke, so Canadian can walk in and get that great play. And again, I love this from this team, the commitment to the plan. Everybody played their part perfectly, and the crossfires, those cutoffs held upstairs, made G2 had no easy way to get this job done. Best efforts done by players like Blaz and Doki. Alma with a nice little stat pad, finding himself 3 in the round, but ultimately, it's only going to add a little bit extra to his cost.
Yeah, I like, and the way we were kind of theory crafting, oh, are Shopify going to go for a fast push upstairs? Are they just going to go fast side? It was like right in between. They set up everything upstairs first, and then they're like, wait, okay. And Canadian gets the plant down perfectly. Now we go on labs. So Shopify Rebellion, they take the timeout, and they use the timeout just to guarantee that it was bunks. They won it dominating last time, but they want to 100% make sure they get their quota, their requisite 2 rounds on the attack. It's done. Now labs, if they lose this, I feel like as long as it's not dominant and you give the momentum back to G2, as long as it's not dominant, you don't really care if you lose this. If you win here, it's just a bonus going into your defense.
And the big thing is the previous time that they were attacking this, it came down to a massive clutch play from Stomp and Alamau. So the timeout was called to guarantee that middle floor site, and now you have a good chance at repeating what you've already been doing and what's working. The biggest difference now, though, is of course they do not have access to that Ying. Canadian used that exceptionally well to get a significant amount of space and essentially be knocking on the door of site within the first 45 seconds. They're going to go a different approach this time, but Stompin bringing a different look, opting to bring the clash this time around.
Yeah, and again, something that we highlight all the time back in NA is that Stompin, back when he was on console and when he started playing PC, he was like the dictionary definition of no-brain Ashman. He was running in, he was killing everybody because he was plain and simple just better than everyone else because the skill gap on console is so huge, but he switches to PC and he matured, again, in under a year, so quickly. He started as the Ashiana Zoe, just running and kill everyone, to playing Lion, Nomad, Clash, as we can see, and it's again, like, I don't mean to ride, but it's just, it's so impressive.
Good save from that one. Yeah, listen, at least you're going to fall on that one. I've avoided the glaze too much today. But we will hop on board. Blaz just patching up a little bit of rotation. I think G2 opting just to play a little bit more compact. Almau drops down to the level. And Shopify haven't shown their hand just yet. In terms of individual performances, no one's standing out in either teams. Blaz having a slow start here on Lair for playing very important roles with the utility, especially those Goyo canisters. Chipping away at the keeper barricade will be Canadian. Grimbees goes out, should identify the likely threat of Alamau. Second Kiva sent out to make it a little bit more awkward and choke away more time. 60 seconds left, no picks, and Shopify struggling for control.
They have a ping on this Goyo, though. They know Blaz is trapped in the corner. Here comes Rexen. Blaz not moving. Rexen, though, might make a lot of noise as this sledge. He doesn't catch the runaway. The Goyo persists. Now in comes the second player, but Loira is there to help, and Rexen ends up getting shot in the side, I believe, and Blaz can continue to hold these holes. Now, Shopify Rebellion are in a much worse position going into the execute than they were on the previous attempt, but Canadian is attempting this plant. He's halfway through. Is anything going to stop him? No. Plant is down, but it comes at quite the cost. 2v4 for Shopify Rebellion as Ambi tries to get upstairs. He gets a pick. Loira down and nobody's upstairs with him. He can continue to hold this vert. Canadian almost whiffs but gets the kill in the end and trades with Blaz. What a shot from the IGL. Ambi now has above. Stompin' the shield can only face one way. Ambi's got the angle. In comes the counter defuse. Trying to bait it. Ambi's got the pings. And Stompin' knows he just has to stick. A beautiful final round for Shopify.
Shopify played that perfectly, realizing that they can't get everything in the perfect position, so we make do with what we have. The Grimbees go out and Canadian dives in with cover on his back. They make that plant go down, and it was a huge individual performance, finding two in that post plant, trading with Blaz, and leaving it all down to a 1v1. Unfortunately, Stompin' couldn't find success in this 1v1, meaning that we go level at the half here on Lair.
Huge for Shopify. Again, we talk about how defensive-sided this map is. However, we're going to have to see how the first couple rounds shape out first, because a map can be statistically defender-sided, but sometimes it just depends on the teams, on the day, on the bans as the final ones come in. It's Cade Bandit. G2 want these walls open. They're not having it. They want the free walls. On the other side, Shopify know how much G2 and these top EU teams are in love with Deimos, because we talked about the lurk play from G2. The Deimos enables that so hard. There's so much vert play on Lair. Deimos is so good. And then Monty, just really annoying.
I mean, to double down on the Deimos thing, you got two of the best Deimos players on the same roster. Doki Alamau, a very common pick for them. So this is a very, I think, sensible and a smart decision from Shopify to take these operators away. They're going to look at this set of bans from G2, realizing, okay, we're not going to be able to play around the wall, so what can we do to make that work well? Immediately, I'm going to draw my attention straight to that collection of the Clash and Spot on the Izami, or Spoit on the Izami, I should say. That's going to be very effective, just making as much cover as possible, because you're going to run out of options and places to hide with every single wall open.
Yeah, and not only are they going to have the bolstered defense of the Clash and the Izami just positionally, but in addition, you're forcing the attack to clear the shield, clear the Kivas, and then when they walk in, they've got Fenrir to deal with. It's going to be so hard to get anywhere for G2 unless the Ying and the Glaz are played to perfection, and we know, again, what Shopify just did, how powerful the Glaz can be, and with aim like Loira, and with Doki, probably going to be hitting backside with that Nook. G2 might have a recipe for success here.
They have a lot of options available to them. Interesting to know when we see what option Alamau has went for his primary. It will be the shotgun. So again, playing into the very compact nature of this map. Blaz down below. Inside of Infirmary, he's just going to try his best to wait on communication from his team to use that skill key down below, just restricting movements. But as we see, there's no orange silhouettes from Shopify Rebellion anywhere close to that position. So a little bit of perhaps mispositioning is on our poor read into what Shopify are doing in this round. They'll drop it, and they'll try and get this courtyard wall open to establish a little bit of early control externally.
Spoit also closing off one of those rotations to help, again, bolster the defense, force G2 to make a choice. You know, if you're only bringing the Thermite, yes, the walls are free, but we're going to make so many walls closed that you're going to have to pick and choose where you want to open. You're not going to have all these options available to you as now the smokes go in. Here comes Stompin' with the plant. It's going down. Spoit trying to keep it off. Stompin' taking a lot of damage. 2 players dead from G2. It's the Lurker and the Glaz. The planter dies, but he gets it off. But the man advantage might be too much for G2 to bear. In comes Spoit, wins the close fight against the Glaz. And now Blaz is the last player standing. He could potentially use Vert, but again, there's just so many players to worry about. It might be over. He lands a beautiful shot to get on the board, but Spoit still had Kibas in the pocket, and from there, the round is just over.
I love the bravery to get that plant down. That was the vision from the very inception of that round. Use those candelas, use the smokes and the glass as cover. Unfortunately, there's too many kills slide in favor of Shopify Rebellion, and as you said, you can't win a post-plant without the manpower. I do love, again, the commitment to that. Stomping on the Thermite, diving in. Back in Europe, we've got a saying for that. He done that for the badge. Knowing there's no glory in the case going down, but the win condition was that, unfortunately, they couldn't get that post-plant to stick.
Again, like you said, too many bodies lost to get that, in order to get that plant down. The cost was too great, and now Shopify Rebellion hold their first lead of the map. I think it's safe to say momentum squarely in their corner too, coming off of 2 really good close wins on the attack and then moving into a pretty dominant defense. And similarly, they're also going to rock Bunk's second, which I feel like is really odd because typically in domestic play, at least in NA, we see it, we see Master Labs Bunk. So I wonder what the thought process is for middle side first.
Throwing off the rhythm of a North American side,
maybe.
The team. I think this could be what we're witnessing. I often love to mention just the body language of teams, especially here. We're above all these teams, we can see them, and a little bit of tension setting into G2 as it feels. I think they're beginning to realize, as you said, this is the very first time in this matchup the lead is with their rival. Shopify Rebellion for the first time lead here on Lair. Momentum is turning, and G2 will find that pressure growing on the back. Of course, this is the upper bracket. You don't want to be facing your elimination games. Well, G2 do have a habit of making deep runs in that lower bracket.
G2 opening up that wall already. Again, the benefit of not having to deal with a Cade or a Bandit means those are really quick. Interesting, too, that G2, instead of rocking any of the other shields that are up, namely, Blackbeard or Blitz, they rock Doki on the Fuse instead, and he's got the crappy pistol, too, the GSH. I hate that thing. And he's trying to just work his way down the hallway on the rappel as the Sens, and Ambi just wins that fight. He gets traded, but he's Castle. His job is done. He got the cut, but Doki is there to repair the round for G2. 2 massive kills with the Fuse shield, and now the sight potentially soon.
That pistol will be requesting an apology from you, Pro.
My bad.
Couldn't do that with a PMM. Wouldn't have the mic capacity for it. And the big thing is advantage with G2. Great job from Doki diving down and finding 2. And now they have a shield to work with less guns on the side of Shopify Rebellion. Canadian still has all utility in back pocket to work with at this point, and that could be a massive benefit, but a single gunfight in favor of G2, and this round could spiral out of control. They still have vertical control, toying with this idea in a very close encounter. I see Blaz getting ready for one as well. And G2 resetting back, or Shopify resetting to a very default and passive state.
All 3 of them are upstairs, so they better hope the Vert is enough to stop this eventual plant attempt. But G2, the man on the left side, Rexon hears him, evades the shots for now, goes back to holding the Vert, doesn't want to get too distracted. Doing with Canadian, who's now going to start sending his Toxic Babes down into the bomb site. 45 seconds left, though. It's plenty of time for G2 to try to stall this out. And again, the most important thing is that Shopify Rebellion, if they fully turn their attention towards the Vert, that is when the Grim is going to strike, but Blaz takes a ton of damage. Rexon obviously aware of it, but as he takes the fight, the plant is going down. Smoke Babe comes out. Is it too late? No, Canadian through the smoke denies the plant. 3-on-3, 20 seconds. In goes Stomp into the other site, but there's so many holes he doesn't know where to go. Blaz upstairs picks up one. Alamau hunting upstairs another. And it's all over thanks to the lurk upstairs by G2.
Great timing from Alamau. The pounce on his team needs him most, and that's what G2 oh so desperately needed. A round to calm the nerves and get them back to a level playing field. Great patience displayed from both these teams, but ultimately G2 just had that massive X factor, and his name was Alamau.
And again, it's when you're holding full upstairs like that, but you have the man disadvantage. I mean, you could see it. Two players turn their attention towards the Grim, and that's the go button for G2. They have to scramble back, deny the plant, Stompin picks it back up because there's smoke coverage. And Alamo, I didn't even know where he was that whole round until he got that kill in
neither did Shopify.
security.
Neither did Shopify.
Clearly, he was just like, I don't know if he was just making sure there was no flank. He was flank watching Ashe. You know how people do that because Ashe is 3 speeds, you just zipper across the map.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was flank watching Ashe. I don't know if he was just clearing another side of the map, or if that was the play from the beginning and he was just lurking on by display for a minute and a half. But either way, hero for that round. And now we have basically the same result as we had to start the game. Successful master, failed bunks. We go down to basement now, and G2, now they're rocking that blitz. This
is going to be a very, very interesting round, in my opinion, from this. With this lineup, they don't have a significant amount of vertical destruction to play. Actually, none realistically. You got 3 breaching charges applicable for this side. So the question is going to be, is they have to do this relatively direct. Where will they find the weak link in Shopify's build-up? Spoit has been given permission to don the Vigil, and now, as we have Stompin on the Nook, 2 operators that I imagine will likely find themselves in close proximity sooner rather than later. Alamau already toying with his extended roam pressure, will use that smoker to give him a little bit of concealment and likely expecting the dive through that rotation, but he plays it patient, and that was almost going to be a masterful read. He gets himself caught out, but the trade from Doki's there. Ambi finds with the Nitro Cell, and in the blink of an eye, we find ourselves in a 3 versus 3. But Alamau, great game sense to realize that smoke, that's a bait. He held on just long enough to get his one. Unfortunately, traded away.
Again, you lose your blitz, you lose that spearhead, and you lose IQ with a Valkyrie on the board. You don't know how much info Spotify Rebellion could possibly have. And amongst those trades, that phantom presence from the mirror, you saw Stompin very nervous about working his way in because of that window. Like you said, with everyone falling back, he doesn't have to worry about it anymore. Chase likely soon to be recovered by the attack. And even though it's a 3-on-3, even though 4 players are dead, we still got half the round to go. So G2, still with plenty of time to try and reposition, figure out how they want to take this. First things first, denying this mirror window as it looks like they're trying to take the case through filter.
Loira so tantalizingly close to getting a drone hole pick there. Just needed to creep a little bit further and perhaps could have found some free damage. Ambi, wounded from battles earlier in this round at this stage. 60 seconds and a little bit of change remain. Stompin on that Nook could have an impact later on. Of course, Ambi, those Valkyrie cameras somewhat ironed out by this operator and just taking his time to look for it, aware of the pressure it's going to be, but these deep angles like this map presents is going to make things so difficult. Grenade goes out, denies that Banshee as Rexin finds one. The Blaz, an untraded pick, and G2 might be on borrowed time, but 40 seconds. Loira and Stompin, the last 2 standing.
Here comes Stompin down the blue stairs as Loira is still playing deep in Toxin. Both attackers on opposite sides of this basement, no tradability whatsoever. Maybe trying to link up on lab support here, but Surf prone in the corner, gets one, traded back by Loira. A winnable 1v2 if he can isolate these players, but he's taking a long time. Here comes the crossfire, he downs one. Rexin is just around the corner. Loira's got to whip out the revolver, and the one-tap is good! Loira with a massive play to take the lead!
Absolutely insane from Loira. Out of his seat, action around the look, destined for the side of Shopify. And G2 steal it. And you can feel the tension there. Up in their faces, loud and vocal as often G2 are. Can they capitalize on that momentum? Often teams find a way to try to clutch into a run and string of rounds. Opening this up, that play from Alamau was so exceptional to reading the game sense, but mechanics and individual and the game read here, where there was an information call from a drone out the revolver and finds it. And you can just see the passion from this team as they dive in. This is how much it means. And I've got a feeling that everything might just shift off this.
Dude, Alamau's not even hyped. He was aghast. He couldn't believe what he just saw. I can't either, with that revolver and with that horrible skin too. I don't know how he sees anything. Landing the headshot on Rexin. And you also have to question the crossfire and the timing and communication from Ambi and Rexin. They have the perfect crossfire, but the Twitch pre-fires through. Maybe they get a little bit nervous because the Goyo dies, but Ambi over swings, and Rexin is still trying to rotate through filter. I just said, if Loira wants to win this, he has to isolate these 2 fights, and quickly. And what did Shopify Rebellion do? They isolated themselves for him.
There was a timeout called in the midst of this. Now I'm unsure of the source of it. And now this was from G2 to call a timeout after a clutch round like that. That's the mental of this game at times, the gamesmanship. Just letting Shopify Rebellion stew in that and take the pace out of the game. But G2 back and ready to go for this one. Coach's microphones are back up and locked, so we dive into this round. And I think momentum could be a massive factor now. As G2, they're going to be riding high after that.
Yeah, getting the lead back, too. It's not just you tied the game. It's not just another round. You're up 5-4, one more, and you have match point. You are one round away from $40,000. Or sorry, no, the other one. You're one round away from 75. Both of these teams already have 40 by winning their first game. So now the pressure's on for Shopify Rebellion, but this is the perfect swing round for them because we're going back to Master. We're going back to the primary bomb site where, again, they had won that retake nearly flawlessly, but G2 are giving them a very different look. Instead of the Ying Glass with the Nook, they're just going to rock 2 shields and get in Shopify's face.
They banned away the Clash as well. Shopify in that ban stage take away the Grim. So not having that rock of the defense, not having that CCE shield, just to have that control and the pressure the operator provides. And G2 have been oh so good at just making the most out of their shield play, especially on Alamau in that previous outing. I have a feeling he'll be a very important vocal point of this round yet again. G2's drone economy looking great at this stage, well, only 2 lost. Now make it 3 as the Blackbeard knocks the door, and that's going to be Blaz. And you will not want to be the member of Shopify Rebellion dealing with that one bearing down, of course, playing close with that shotgun. Doki caught out early. An aggressive run out from the Malusi. Rexen making a huge play. And that damage done now is a massive investment to the late game. That means Canadian has extra potential to take a smoke canister pick on the Doki.
1 or 2 shots and Doki is dead. You hear people saying a one-shot headshot game, HP doesn't really matter, but it can change how you play, and the Blitz trying to make space gets caught in a crossfire. Blaz, at the very least, is good for a trade. We end up at even, and G2 have taken quite a bit of space. They're already just on the cusp of servers, or rather storage. Droning through, confirming these positions as Lair goes to work downstairs. Doki gives G2 the advantage as Surf dies below, protecting his buck, making sure that it's not isolated as he's staring up at the ceiling, making this defense uncomfortable, and G2 with still a shield, with still smokes from that Twitch, and now with Blaz carrying the case, looking to push through. Shopify Rebellion don't have any indirect plant denial left either.
They find themselves at the bottom of a very deep hole. As you mentioned, without that denial in the hands of Canadian, this could be a very difficult task indeed. Spoit has been wounded. Doki and Blaz not too healthy either. A chip of damage done to Lair. HG goes out. Finds some damage on the Ambi. Intention likely to buy some space. The prone holes make this an awkward advance for the side of Blackbeard. Ambi does get Lair and brings us back to another playing field, but Rexen finds himself one more, meaning G2 on the back foot, and a 3 versus 2, all in favor of the defense. A lull in chat as well to rub salt in the wound. And G2 need to find a solution to this problem right here, right now. 20 seconds, a full HP stomping. Diffuser in hand, needs to win his ones. Walking into a nasty crossfire. He takes some damage to his shoulder. And the time, the music cues are there. Stomping doesn't win his one just yet, only downing Rexen. Spoit and Ambi so standing. Spoit finds one, all down the Doki. Wounded early, Ambi shuts it down. And Shopify Rebellion still in this fight, dragging us to the deep water of Lair.
And most importantly, not making the same mistake they made in the round prior. Holding the crossfire firm. You had some jiggle peeks from the Malusi, sure, but no one else was swinging. This was the... I can't think of the word. It starts with a D. The discipline. This is the discipline we saw in the first game up against Weibo. It's now coming back when they needed it most. And the most important thing there was Alamau taken out first. Then G2 have to try and press the issue because you can't just lose your blitz for nothing and Shopify keep up in the trades. And then the crucial kill. There's nothing scarier for a Blackbeard player than being alone and someone actively swinging you, because you try to ADS and we see what just happened. Blaz gets his head taken off and now we're at a tie game once again, but now it's a little bit scary for Shopify again because we have to go to the middle site.
And this site has been a very difficult one to get your consistent results on. A massive repick for the side of G2. Doki donning the fuse yet again, stomping back on the ace and Alamau, deciding He doesn't want the blitz this time around. The previous outing didn't work out in their favor, so he's going to swap things around. Now, Doki will likely re-pick onto the shield, and Surf bringing out the Solace this time. Now, to me, this screams realizing that G2 will likely want to plant with those smoke grenades and go on an off position. With that Solace scanner means you're going to be able to prevent that having a huge impact, so likely the intention and the vision behind that off pick from Shopify.
It also, as Doki just innocently tries to shoot a cam, swung by Spoit, and once again your shield player's dead early. But I was going to say the Solace pick I think is also Shopify Rebellion saying, okay, what happened when we turned too many eyes to the top floor and then too many eyes to the site? This way, everybody can watch the top floor and you only need Surf to try and stop that plant, which might come very soon despite losing that fuse. Alamau opening this wall already, looking for a pick, fishing for a kill, not finding anything just yet. Might have an opportunity if Ambi overexposes himself. There's a rotate for him to play around too, but again, scared of the vert, he's forced to back out.
Alamau can have a huge position, though, as he begins to rotate and reposition. He's been able to find himself in this position several times, and the DMR of Lair has huge damage on the Ambi. Lucky to stay alive in this Ambi. A huge individual performance, 11 and 7 so far. Deep here in round 11, minute 30 left to work with. G2 one player down, and Alamau just looking for another reposition, trying to find himself some avenue of success. And Shopify Rebellion showing that discipline, showing that patience, not extending and not allowing these cutoffs, and all of them being held by G2 at this point, that have that dividends. And they'll be patient, they'll wait as every second drains away. It makes this so much harder for our EML champions.
I think G2 without that shield player now want to try and clear top floor, but do they have the time as they lose Alamau for the price of Ambi? And Loira takes down Spoit, trying to come downstairs. Now we're back to even, but still the massive problem of Surf remains upstairs. Canadian and Rexen will be trying to cover him as Surf stares at the floor, stares at the site, waiting to pop that scanner and find Loira. No matter what projectors he has, he cannot hide from that Solace scanner, and he knows it.
They've seen the Solace pick and they realize they have to clear this. Surf has now become the most important player on this server. They're going to send out that Sens wall, but unfortunately that's not going to do a lot when you have a Solace upstairs. But perhaps this is a bait and switch to try and draw a reaction from Shopify, but it will only find Rex in one pick on the stomping. Blaz and Loy, the last two standing, and they have to do everything to clear this top floor. But no! Blaz can't give it one. Lawyer finds himself a third for this one. Bring it back to level playing field. Canadian and Surf find a way, and Shopify Rebellion get themselves to match point here on Lair.
I wonder if the nerves are hitting. There were just too many people for him to shoot at with that DMR, and in trying to hit two targets at once, he loses both, allows his teammate to die, and now Shopify Rebellion once again swing back the lead. And not only is it the lead, but it is an incredibly important lead because all the pressure is now on G2.
This is a huge advantage to hold, not just in scoreline, but the mentality. It becomes a completely different game. G2 need to break the serve. They have to force overtime and drag this game beyond regulation. All of this is for a spot to continue their journey in the upper bracket. No one wants to be down in that lower bracket because it is getting to be a very populated with scary teams at this stage. So round number 12, the end of regulation, and down to labs we go. Can Shopify Rebellion get the job done? And does G2 have one last dive in the tank?
Down to labs where, similarly to the first half, Shopify attack labs. It comes down to a round they really should have won. They don't, but then they win the second attempt. Same thing on this half. They're defending labs. They lose a 1v3 that they really shouldn't have. Now they get to retry. Is Lightning going to strike twice? They did it in the first half. Can they do it again? They're playing a pretty similar comp. The main difference here from round 9, dropping the Azami in the favor of the Goyo. So a little less hard defense, more delay.
Those Goyo counters can be so impactful in the late stage. The lack of a Twitch getting brought out from G2 as well means there's no way to clear that with relative safety, guaranteeing almost that Shopify will find some value with those in the mid to late stage. Already hearing one burn away as we jump on board with Alamau. He's just trying to get himself in, and all the G2 posturing themselves inside of Warehouse. Again, the lack of hard breach or lack of vertical potential from this team means they have to somewhat go direct, and relying on players like Stompin and Blaz upstairs to act on that cutoff position.
They've got that missile wall open now where it looks like they'll want to mount their attack with lockers as well. Going almost full horizontal. The only player on the first floor is Stompin, who's holding green stairs right now. Just lurking around, as we know G2 love to do. Trying to fish for a pick. Maybe going for a call and trying to catch a distracted defender. He might have a couple of targets in Spoit. Or sorry, the one target in Spoit. He's the last man standing up here. Blaz also just outside as we start to hear utility going off on the site.
Those Candelas in the hand of Alamau, just trying to buy some space, maybe, again, just trying to draw a reaction from Shopify at this stage, and that's the reaction they would have wanted. Ambi, Rexen finding one apiece, but Alamau decides it's time to dive in. Pistol in hand, finding one, can't make it two. Serve shuts it down, but Blaz is good for the trade. In the blink of an eye, we find ourselves in a 2 versus 2. A simple tag team brawl to wrap up this map or send us to overtime. Stompin takes a lick of damage, and Spoit regroups upstairs. Shotgun the work with him. The information seems solid. He can try and cause all the problems and deny that potential plant from upstairs.
And again, like you said, he's got those pings, but do they have info in the other site too? Spoit is still upstairs. If Canadian dies here, this could be massive as he swings in, but Stompin's not looking. Turns around, knows where Blaz is as well. He gets the trade. 3 kills for the Flores, but again, Spoit is upstairs and Blaz is walking right back into the information. Spoit's got some vert set up. It looks like the hatch may be open too. He's rotating towards security. The plant is going down. Blaz will complete it. And now he's in the perfect position to bring us to overtime. The only disadvantage he has is the HP, which again, it changes how you play. Blaz is not going to be nearly as aggressive because he knows one shot from Spoit, an incredibly mechanically gifted player, will take him down and lose his team the map. But Spoit, you can tell with the way he's playing, he's got no info. Blaz has backed off just far enough that Spoit will have to commit so much time to find him, and he gets him! Spoit is the savior! The Americans are 75 grand richer, and they'll be hungry for more.
Spoit steps up tall, and his team needs him in a 1 versus 1. G2 sent packing